Okay, so we're at the BWR World Movie Premiere.
And photo exhibition.
Yep. Photo exhibition is going on now.
8.5 years of the Belgian Waffle Ride.
So where did this idea of the movie come from for tonight?
I think every year we would sort of document the silliness of the race. And so each year it would sort of get longer and better and more interesting. That I love, creating stories and making films or TV shows or whatever we end up calling them. It just seems like this thing deserved that documentation. And this year we took a different, more comical approach to it. So there's this theme to it. It's the Mystery Science 3000. Here's this serious documentary, and then we have a cast of characters in the foreground that poke fun at it from every angle. So it's comedic, sort of this juxtaposition of, wow, it's a really hard race, but it's just bike racing, so how can you take it too seriously? So we take those two things to the extreme. Super rad, hard, difficult bike race that we document, and then we poke fun at it from every angle. And at the end of it, people clap and say, that was rad.
So, and then we got the photo off going on right now, photo gallery style. Jay Cornet's really had that up. What, is this kind of something you're just trying to show off to everyone with the years of it? Do you plan on doing more stuff like this down the road? I mean, obviously it's all a little new, but where do you see stuff like this going?
Yeah, so next year we're going to make call it a 75-minute film. So sort of a proper full-length feature. This one's, I think, 46 minutes. Next year will be a full documentation of the women's race, full documentation of the men's race. And then interspersed in it, the spice of it will be these vignettes that we do with each athlete. So you can imagine one of the most prominent triathletes is now gravitating to gravel. So what is her experience going to be like, and how do we tell her story through the prism of the BWR and her approach to it, just as we would do with, say, a CEO of a major company that's raised his hand to take on the challenge. Not to mention the various pros from the world tour that are now gravitating towards it, and then all these other cast of characters that we've watched race their bikes on TV all over the world, and now they're actually in front of us or with us doing the Belgian Waffle Ride. So you can imagine those vignettes almost like paralleling what Ironman has done over the years. And here's the race, but then we're going to break it up. I tell you this story about this incredible athlete that's, has many challenges in life, many more that would, get in the way of them doing the Ironman, and yet they're doing it and inspiring us in ways that the top athletes in the world just can't.
So speaking on 2020, I feel like kind of since registration opened, it's kind of been, the talk now, it's kind of all hands on deck, for 2020. How has it gone since, it was all right, registration's open, now we're really focusing on 2020. How's that all looking, and what's coming together for next year?
Well, I think the takeaways are we added 750 spots, so we're at 2,500 spots that can race it. There'll be a deep waiting list, so I think that's kind of interesting. We could, if the county let us, have more people race our gravel event than any other gravel race in the North America or the world. On top of that, there's no Tour of California next year. So what are those athletes going to do with that window? Our event is only a week in advance of what would typically be that tour. So which of those athletes and teams are going to join in our fun and do so with either individually or as a team? What does that team dynamic look like? And how does that change the complexion of the waffle? So I think those are dynamic things. Massive growth, incredible growth in the depth of the professional field, incredible growth in the women's field. So those things are, romantic, and, I would swear right now with an expletive that expresses radness, but it's rad.
So like tonight's the movie premiere. What do we have going on from tonight till the BWR? As far as like what else is coming out?
Yeah. So tonight's like this 8.5 year retrospective on the genesis of the BWR to where we are now going to year 9. So there's images from the first event where there was 136 athletes, all of them individually invited. None of them paid. Their only payment was to share with the world how rad it was if they had a good time. I think 18 of those people didn't finish, so we had 118 finishers. And then the evolution has been, year 2 was 336 people and they all paid, and then it was 600 and some odd, and it continues to grow and capture people's imaginations along the way. I think the interesting thing too is the course changed every year. It got longer, it got dirtier, it got hillier, it got more challenging. Last year the course was essentially the same as the year before. It was sort of the first time that we reluctantly did that at the behest of the county. This year it's very similar, but we've made some significant changes to the beginning because we think the beginning is going to be a full-on race from mile 1 on. So the course has changed to adapt for that, mostly for the safety of riders getting into the first dirt sector that will come a little bit later than it normally does, and it'll be more spread out. But overall, there's this like evolution that continues, and 2020 will be no different. Different course, different racers, depth of field, depth of prize purse, depth or complexion of storytelling that will be shared on the backside.
So now though for 2020 there's 2 events, and that's a little farther down. But before we even get into that conversation, because tonight's about the past event, but what can you kind of like put out there as far as what that event could look like next year?
What, the second event? Well, we haven't announced it, so I don't really know what you're talking about. But I think if I were to guess what you're talking about, there's an event in Asheville that is slated for August 30th. It's slated to be 146 miles, super challenging, but different than here, like more punchy climbing like you would have in Belgium. Not long climbs like Black Canyon, but just this overall like undulation that just wears people down. A lot of gravel, a lot of technical stuff, similar road to gravel, road to dirt ratio, probably 50 some odd miles of difficult dirt, technical dirt, and then a lot of road. So keeping that balance and that dynamic, the structure of which is meant to freak people out. So they get freaked out like, what tire do I use? Well, okay, how much road? How much dirt? So then what amount of rubber do I need? And then what kind of gearing? What's the climbing like? Is it 23% like double peak? Is it just 16, which I can handle? So what gearing do I go with? Do I do disc brakes or do I not do disc brakes? Am I allowed to use my e-bike? No, you're not. There's all these questions and people are conflicted with what to use, and that's exactly what we want. We want them second guessing their gear all the way up until the start gun goes off.
Perfect. Well, I think we'll keep wraps on that one. But is it beer time? Beer time yet?
Tequila and beer.
Tequila and beer.
Have you ever mixed tequila and beer?
I think we're going to right now.
All right, let's go do that.
All right, Mr. Jake Orness, one of I'd say the main photographer, right? BWR. Are you go-to photographer? I don't know. You've been at damn near all these.
I've been at starting in 2013, and I have shot every one of them since then, and led a team for it since 2015, where we're the group doing all the media and photos. This past year, I only shot the portraits. That was my first year being a filmer on it.
How many photos do you think you've actually taken for BWR? or been in charge of having people take for BWR?
Let's see, 2019, the final photo count that I had to go through and break down was 7,000. That was 2019.
Just 2019 alone.
2019 alone. Yep.
All right, so tonight's the movie premiere for last year, which you got a big part of. But before we see that, what's going on right now? Where are we at?
We are here at Union Co-work across the street from La Paloma, and we're doing a photo retrospective from all years of Belgian Waffle Ride, and just got a great group of photographers work all on show.
Nice. So, like, through the years that you've done BWR, obviously it's on the walls. Like, what have you taken away from it? Or, I mean, when you look at all these photos, I saw you earlier setting them up and everything. Like, what goes through your mind when you like see all these years of of these photographs that you've been out there doing?
It's been kind of overwhelming in a way. When I started shooting this, I knew it was something big that was going to grow, and I saw something that I was passionate about, and I saw it in Michael. And so now, as I'm going through and looking through all these photos and seeing the people that have been here year after year, and the way the course has changed, and the way that my photography has changed, and others that I'm working with, it's really neat to go back and see that, and then find photos from 6, 7, 8 years ago of friends now that you had no idea at the time when you were shooting it, and it's like, oh, this is such a great photo, I need to get this to this person. And it's been pretty cool. Maybe I did this 2 years too early, but expect something special for 10 years.
No, this is awesome. So you've obviously, we're going to see the movie tonight. You've had a big part of that. What are we getting ourselves into? What are people going to expect to see? Obviously, it's not going to be a straightforward, movie.
No. I certainly have a way of deciding to bite off more than I can chew sometimes, and I have a great editor and co-partner in this film, and Brian Jenkins, as well as guidance and the ability to just do what we want to a point from Michael. And so we made a goal to build this film around what BWR is to us, and put some twists in it without it being directed at the bike racer. I think this is something that anybody can watch, and they're going to find some enjoyment out of it.
Awesome. All right, well, we're going to watch it, and then we'll catch up later and get the post video interview.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right, so we ran into Jeremiah Bishop here, what's your current role nowadays?
I wear many hats. I'm athlete ambassador for Canyon. So basically that means demo, expo, race, trade show, whatever they need me to do. I like to say I like to build the stoke and get people excited to ride, whether that's a demo event like Outer Bike, or whether that's a race like Leadville 100. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. So we've got a lot of events on the calendar. I'm here in SoCal at Canyon headquarters, just a few miles away, and we're working on a killer event season. We got a really strong focus for some good mountain bike events. Mountain bike, of course, is one of our best-selling categories, and then of course gravel. Gravel's super hot right now, and we've got a ton of events on the calendar. Really looking forward to some of these new ones.
So you haven't done BWR, I take it. You're kind of new to the BWR scene. Now you're with Canyon. Canyon's a big sponsor of BWR. How do you feel like from an outside perspective, since you personally haven't done it, but you obviously know about it? Like, we're here at the movie premiere tonight. Like, how do you feel like the BWR is doing in this new space?
I think BWR is a leader in the space for sure. You look at some of the early pioneering gravel events, and it's really caught on fire, but only just in the last 3 years. And then you had some pioneering events. This one's now, 8 years old? And then you had Tour Battenkill. Buddy Brian won that back in the day. And Tour Battenkill has kind of spun itself off as a Grand Fondo. It's kind of a little bit less niche, a little less core, I guess I'd call it. But this one's definitely got a lot of media push behind it. They really like sending the message out about what gravel is about, adventure on bikes. And I think that's a really cool thing. It's also just got a fun brand, I think that's a thing that people gravitate to. These events are different. I did a lot of research when I started with this athlete ambassador role for some of our demo hits and some of our races that we do. And I was looking online and I was talking with Jason O'Mahony, with a gravel cyclist, and I was looking at all the websites, and man, there were not that many events last year, but now there are like hundreds and hundreds of events. I mean, there's got to be over 1,000 gravel events in North America now. Things like Paris Ancaster, I mean, that one's also been around for a long time. But then you got the new ones, the new kids on the block, like this Big Sugar Gravel, sold out in 8 minutes. So it's really an exciting time to be involved in it. And I think if you're a guy like Michael, who's, at the forefront of it and had been here before gravel was cool, it's awesome. Our event, though a lot less public facing, the Alpine Loop Gran Fondo, has been going on for 9 years. This will be our 10th in October. So we've got 3 KOMs that are gravel as well. So yeah, it's just something that we've been doing for a long, long time. And so it wasn't about gravel, it was just about adventure riding. So really the gravel, I think the real story with gravel is how it's become popular and brought new people into the sport. I think that's what's special about the real boom that's happening right now.
It's bringing like everyone, whether it's new people, former racers, roadies, mountain bike guys,
triathletes,
everything. So, it's very interesting. So, like, how you looking forward to the movie tonight? Are you expecting anything? Like, have you seen any parts of it, or like you think you're maybe get stoked to come out here next year?
Oh, totally. I mean, I'm fired up to just see the course, and I got a little bit of blow by blow from Eddie Anderson, training buddy of mine, and Brian Lewis talks super highly about it. I had a schedule conflict on the East Coast. That's the only reason I couldn't make it last year, but I'm fired up to come back out here and give it a whirl. I mean, it looks like just a blast. I mean, I like long, tough rides and big adventures, so it's right up my alley.
Perfect. All right, let's drink some more beer and watch the movie.
Thanks.